There are many different types of mental illnesses, such as Alzheimer's, schizophrenia, autism, epilepsy, and many others. Epilepsy is often an illness that is forgotten about by the common unless they are affected by it in some form of way. Most people have heard of epilepsy, but tend to not know the specifics of how it is caused, the types that there are, the treatments that there are, the restrictions of the person with epilepsy, and how to react when an episode is occurring. I've chosen to inform you all about epilepsy today because I was diagnosed with epilepsy about 3 months ago. I'm going to provide you all with information on how it has affected me, as well as many others, and how you can help. First, on how it's caused. So, epilepsy is normally caused by either brain damage or it's genetic, but there are also different types of causes that happen. And 68% of the known cases of epilepsy are unknown of why. And other brain damages or pre-birth injuries are also why epilepsy is caused. And due to different causes of epilepsy, there are different types of epilepsy. There are 2 generic types of epilepsy, and it's focal epilepsy and generalized epilepsy. The focal epilepsy breaks down into 2 different categories, which is simple and complex. Complex means you lose consciousness but still remain without jerking or twitching. And then a simple focal seizure is when you pass out but you're not twitching or anything and your emotions change and stuff like that. And then the generalized seizures breaks down into 7 different categories. It's tonic or tonic-clonic, which is both tonic and clonic type of seizures in one seizure. And then there's atonic, myoclonic, just regular clonic, and then tonic. Tonic is when the typical is what you think of when you see a typical seizure, such as like the shaking, the drooling, and all that stuff. Clonic seizure is when your muscles just stiffen, where you aren't able to move them. Myoclonic is loss of consciousness, but no jerking or twitching, but where it also mostly looks like you're fainting. And then atonic is when you just lose control of your muscles and you just collapse, but no jerking or twitching is caused. And the most common type of seizure is a tonic seizure, and that normally occurs in the parental lobe of the brain. And then this right here is what it looks like in like a brain active, or a brain, what do you call it, an EEG type of reading, and that where it spikes is when you're having the seizure. Different types leads to different treatments. The number 1 treatment for epilepsy is medicine, and these are all the different kinds of medicines that you can be prescribed depending on how old you are, what other medicines that you are taking, and all that. And then to get diagnosed with epilepsy, you have to go through different stages of testing. And the first test that you'll have is the EEG, which is just they hook up wires to you and track how your brain is reacting when you're asleep. And then there's an MRI, which many of you have probably heard of. MRI is just a regular magnetic brain screening. And then there's a CAT scan. And this is what a reading of an MRI with epileptic happenings in it, and it's the lighter parts where the brain is more active, more like unregularly active. And with different treatments, there's different restrictions, and the top 2 restrictions for people with epilepsy is driving and pregnancy concerns. With driving, you can't drive for 6 months after every seizure that you have, and then depending on what medications you're on, you may not be able to drive at all. And with pregnancy, you should not become pregnant, and if you're planning to be pregnant, you should talk to your doctor and not take any more of your medicines, because all epileptic medicines interfere with the pregnancy. And swim, and you can't, for more restrictions, you can't swim by yourself, and you can't do anything that allows you to be off the ground, such as like biking, gymnastics when you're up on the beams or something, and like other stuff like that where your feet aren't on the ground. And now what to do when you are watching somebody have a different type of seizure. First thing you do is make sure that they're safe. If they're not already on the ground, be sure to lay them on the ground and preferably on their sides, just in case they are to vomit or drool, that they do not choke on it. And then if you're not the only one in the room, while you're laying them down on their sides, tell the other person to start timing it, because that will become important later. And then make sure that all objects are removed around them, and that there's nothing that could hurt them if they were to hit something, or nothing that could hit somebody else if they are in the room. And then if the seizure is to last more than 5 minutes long, call the ambulance. And in most cases, they will have rescue pills with them, which you will know because they will be in their pocket or in their bag or something. But that you only give them their rescue pills if it's longer than 5 minutes. 3.4 million of Americans have epilepsy, so having knowledge on what it is and what to do is valuable. Thank you to epilepsy.com, healthline.com, and mayoclinic.org for the information I have provided. Hopefully you were able to retain enough to know what to do when a situation is happening and to be able to help somebody in need. Thank you.